false hopes and unwarranted fears. For instance, when a finding is reported in a sensational way, the results may create a national media feeding frenzy. Are we being deceived by our media on such a grand scale that most of us would have a difficult time in comprehending the full extent? Has our trust in the media been used against us with devastating consequences which are unknown? Hi, I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and today we're going to be speaking with Paul Wesley, also known as TruthChaser to his many YouTube fans. Paul is a worldwide activist who has confronted every media outlet in Philadelphia. He has some of the best protest coverage covering topics such as Monsanto to chemtrails. He is the first person to bring the chemtrail agenda to light in Pennsylvania and has held multiple presentations regarding the dehumanization of humanity and the alien government agenda. His YouTube channel is Prince TruthChaser, so please welcome Paul Wesley.
Hey, Dr. Rita, how are you today?
I'm great. I'm so glad to get you to come on the show. There's so much going on in the world today that I think, getting your voice out there and your message is really important. But before we get into all the meat, I want to know, how did you turn from being just, like an everyday kind of guy into seeking out the truth and discovering what's going on behind the scenes?
Oh, well, that would take hours. It would take hours.
Well, can we get the condensed, abbreviated version?
Wow. I mean, after becoming a single parent for the first time, they started up the whole Occupy movement, but that really got me into filming people in journalism. But as far as the paranormal aspect of it all is concerned, I mean, I'm an abductee. I've been an abductee since 6 years old, and so wow, I've had paranormal experiences with different dimensional beings, you might want to call them that, or reptilians, or greys, or Tulzetters, whatever, for years and years and years. Probably since the age, probably since like the age 6.5, 7, and when the Occupy movement kicked off, that's when I really started bettering myself as a journalism as a journalist.
Okay. And, our topic at this point in time isn't really going to be going into the whole alien thing, although we probably should do a show on that, because
that's very important.
Well, I have a feeling we're going to kind of end up there anyway, but, what I really wanted to kind of talk about is what the heck is going on? What is going on, in your opinion, with these police shootings, the craziness in Turkey, the rash of police shootings, bombings, trucks running people over? That one was kind of crazy.
Wow.
I mean, are these just weird coincidences that are happening? Or is there more going on in the scenes, with our local government trying to control what is going on with the people?
What's going on is really just one word. The word is fear. Fear and chaos. I mean, that's what's going on. See, we operate out of the five senses, and these, we're not going to get too deep into that, but so basically our so-called leaders and government, they want to install as much fear and chaos in the world as they can to keep us on a low vibrational level. They don't want, and that's what we're going to be talking about hopefully with the media, is that they don't want people united as one. They don't want people happy. They don't want people, growing our own healthy food or drinking healthy water. They want everyone sick. They want everyone's aura down. They want everyone in fear. And so what's really going on? I mean, besides the fact that the media, the mainstream media, in my opinion, is directly involved in what's going on. But they're just one word. It's fear. That's absolutely what it is. You can spoon feed it and put it on people's table and feed it to people any way you want, through people getting run over by trucks or boogeyman ISIS that the government funded in the first place. Yeah, it's fear.
Well, and my experience or my observation is that fear really paralyzes people. They can't do anything. They can't get their energy up enough to really think for themselves because they're really kind of traumatized.
Well, sure, that's the thing. I mean, once you can control someone through fear, then you have them. And society nowadays, we're getting hit with so many, with the chemtrails, with what we put in our water, what's put in our water, what's put in our food. I mean, it's rough. So now what they want to do is they've already got us pretty much mentally enslaved. Well, not me or you, but, but you know, Dr. Rita, they pretty much have us mentally enslaved. They don't have us spiritually enslaved just yet, and that's the problem. That's the problem with them that they're trying to do now, is that they're attacking us this is a spiritual war right now, and a lot of people, they don't even understand what a false flag is. Some people never even heard the word Monsanto or anything. They just turn on their news and they believe what they see. So it's rough.
Well, one of the things, the whole concept of false flag events, I think people are starting to maybe catch on. After the Pulse shooting happened a few weeks ago, I was just doing some research because my first take in watching some of the footage was, this is seeming really fake. Some of the news footage just seemed really fake. And so I just typed in Pulse shooting, shooting in Orlando, and there was like one news report, and then everything after that was false flag, hoax, and I'm like, geez, because it was only a couple of days after, and there was already more information about it being a hoax than there was of actual reporting about the event.
Well, we have to understand, again, we already understand this, but, but people have to understand that there's a thing called karma, and these beings, I'm just going to call them that, these beings
you can say whatever. You can go wherever you need to go.
These parasites, because they don't deserve the word or the term Archon or any jinn or anything like that. They're parasites. They're parasitical beings that hop on people and blah, 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 blah. But what's going on is that there is a thing called karma. There's a thing called cosmic karma. And, instead of them going out and really committing these horrendous events themselves, they'll figure, well, we don't want that karmic backlash. So what we'll do is we'll stage false flags, and then it's like having a gun with a herd of cattle. And, you don't want to go out and kill them all because you need them, right? So you just get a gun and you want them all to panic and you just start shooting off the gun. And when you do that, boom, 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 they're all afraid, they all get in line, and that's what's happening. That's, I believe, what's happening. Because a lot of it is, not all of it's false flags. I mean, we do have some lunatics that are prescribed on or prescription drugs. That's another form of mind control that they use. But we have people that are massive mind controlled, and they go out and they do horrendous things, and then when you see them in court, they're in court like, oh, in Zombieland, because they're like, what the heck just happened? I can't believe what I just did. And was it really them? But yeah, there are a lot of false flags. Is everything a false flag? I can't say yes, but it really comes up to self-empowerment and us to do our own research to figure out what's real and what's not, and sometimes it's hard.
Okay, so, you're talking about the Archon parasitic part, which sure. I get, and we'll probably talk about that some more. But how much of these potential false flag events do you think we'll create an event over here, I'm trying to get in camera, an event over here, so that we're not going to pay attention to what's going on over here? Right. And just misleading the people via the news media to, like there's all this stuff going on, but at the same time, had the whole thing with Hillary and the emails, and then bam, all this stuff started happening, which I thought was very interesting in Turkey, personally. But, but was it to take the attention off of what's going on with the powers that be from their real agenda, which is to slide something by us?
It's both. We're getting hit on all kinds of we're getting hit on all kinds of sides, because if we look at it this way, Hillary Clinton, or Hillary Clinton, I'll call her. I knew for a fact that she was not going to go to jail. I knew that, and what a better way to distract the population. Like, okay, well, and again, this is karma. This is how the universe works. Karmically, she's holding herself or being held accountable for her actions in her own little way. It's by saying, hey, look, she's being investigated by the FBI. She's going to do this. She's going to do this. Hey, we know she did this. So now you know. Now we put that energy out there for you to observe, okay, to the public. But we're going to throw something in the mix that's going to totally sidetrack you from that, like Pokemon Go or false flag shooting or something like that. That's going to, or something in Turkey, like a coup in Turkey or whatever. That's going to totally distract you from what's happening to Clinton. And then when the elections come, guess who's back in the game? Hillary Clinton's back in the game. And if anyone goes, oh, well, what happened with the email? Like, what are you talking about? What happened with all her scandals and Benghazi and all this and that? We already, they already threw it out there, but people let themselves be distracted by that. And that's how it works, man. It's tricky. It's very tricky how things are done. It's like they let you know what's going on in their own little ways, in like their own little riddles, and throw it out at you energetically, but at the same time, it's up to you to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And I tell people all the time, I said, listen, there's not going to be, everyone says, well, there's a conscious shift. There's going to be a conscious shift. I said, no, there's not. You have to have a massive conscious awakening at one time. Mm-hmm. Me and Dr. Rita, we can break our backs and do as best as we can. We can do as much as we can, but we can get jiggy with it all we want, but if you ain't mentally getting jiggy with it enough to get the masses together, then nothing's going to happen. And I think, like, people say, well, there's going to be first contact. No, there's not going to be first contact. It's total BS. They don't want first contact because, God forbid, if we seen a mothership coming over the clouds, that would do what? That would unite us as one. And they do not want to. Like, it's just ridiculous when I hear people talk. And this is one of the reasons why, ever since I became an activist, okay, I've made it my overall goal to expose the media, to confront the media. Because if I'm taking time out of my daughter's life, if I'm taking time out of my family's life, to where I have to put my butt on the line and worry about getting locked up or trampled on by a horse or called crazy or coffee thrown at me, all these things that we get happen to us most of the time, but then I want to make sure that I'm going to, hold them accountable because they need to be held accountable. Look at the chemtrails in the air. They're not reporting the geoengineering that's going on. They're not reporting. When's the last time you heard them say anything about Monsanto? When's the last time you heard them say anything about how energy works, how love vibration works, how auras work, how meeting someone, you're in a room with someone and you're having a party and that one a-hole comes in the party and totally bums everyone out. Well, that should be taught in every single school since we're born, but it's not. And ask yourself, well, why? Why don't they cover this stuff? Why don't they teach this stuff? Because we live on a prison planet. Waka waka.
But I agree with your comment about the consciousness shift. The whole 2012 thing. People were like, oh, we're having this consciousness shift. And I disagreed with that, and my commentary has consistently been, I don't see... All right, when 9/11 happened, I thought there was a possibility that there could be a consciousness shift, because people really did kind of come together, and it was unfathomable to people what happened. And I thought
there was a conscious shift. There was a conscious shift when 9/11 happened. It was an anger conscious shift. It was a fearful conscious shift, and that's what they wanted, you see, because there's different kinds of conscious shifts that we can go through, and their whole plan was to bring chaos and fear, panic reaction solution, or problem reaction solution, and that way they shift our consciousness in a state of fight or flight. Oh my God, we got to get them, we got to get them, we got to get them. So there was a conscious shift of togetherness. There really was, and now we're like, holy crap, man, there was building number 7 that just fell. Something's not right here. They lied to us. Now it's like,
ugh. Exactly. But the line that I've always said is the only way we're going to have the consciousness shift on a global level is if we get our ass kicked. Some huge disaster or something that rocks us to our bottom,
Hey,
and
maybe
takes
Planet X
us,
is alive. That's real, right?
huh?
Well, you always hear about a Planet X, so Nibiru, the destroyers coming by. People always talk about that crap. So,
Blah blah blah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, but what you're saying, but the only reason I said that was not that I believe in it, but just because, like you said, we need to get our ass kicked. We need to get our shit straight. I mean, we do need some kind of shake and bake thing to happen, but we're dealing with beings who. It's hard, man. It's hard because it's kind of like having a really slow kid and you're a really smart adult and you know how to manipulate. You're like, hey, you're gonna learn this. We're like the slow kids of the planet. I think at one time before our DNA was tampered with, or this or that happened, or there was a huge war or whatever, we were able to have psychic awareness or see these beings, which like I can from time to time, or this or that or this or that, but. They did something to us, and now we're just like pawns on a chess table to be played with.
Mm-hmm. And so, okay, so you mentioned the Archons. Are there other
Yeah.
groups that are messing around and controlling what's going on, or are they the overlords, so to speak?
Overlord my ass.
Just saying.
I'm just saying, like, listen, Doctor Rita. I gotta be honest. Not all reptilians I don't believe are evil. Because I used to have that. See, when you first wake up to these archonic beings or reptilians or the tall Zetas, because the small Zetas went through years and years and years of being abducted. I always wondered, why didn't the media say anything about this? Why aren't the media covering this? And that's another reason why I wholeheartedly expose and confront the media. And I found it to be that the small Zetas they're like slaves, they're little workers. They're not anyone. So I'm like, okay, well, if you're gonna take me, I want your boss. I want to confront your boss, whoever. And then that takes you to the reptilian aspect of it, to this and this and this. And one of the problems with me when I first started, I was very angry, and I learned to take that through. Hey, look, you can't. If it's basically if you go through everything with anger towards if you hold a couple bad apples out of the whole bunch to everyone's evil, then you're not going to get anywhere, and no doors are going to open. So when I really started looking at the whole reptilian race, period, and the tall Zeta beings as like, hey, maybe there's a few who are bad, but a lot of them aren't. That's when doors started opening up to me. That's when opportunities started, radio shows, different things like that, and I find that to be true because I've seen people where their face would literally shift, and the one girl gave me a bottle of water. So you can't judge a book by its cover, just because there's a lot of evil mother effers out there. So,
And so you're coming up with or talking about the reptilians and the archons is more based on your personal experience
I've seen them.
versus, taking something David Icke would say or whatever and saying, oh, well, that's what it is.
Everyone loves David Icke, and I like a lot of his stuff too. But I'm coming through personal experience of being
Okay,
abducted
cool.
my whole life. So compared to reading ancient texts or ancient books, okay, I've actually trained my mind, or you would call it your third eye, to be able to learn how to see things that it's so hard to explain. You just have to know what they look like, their traits, different eyebrows, how their eyebrow bones are real sharp and go up, different things like that. A lot of time, the way their tongues go, the way their hand gestures go, you better hide. But once you figure out the dynamics of what they look like, that they're not all evil, that maybe you should go about this in a different way, then you can change the world. If you just say, oh wow, there's monsters that live among us and we're just going to kill them all, because that's what will happen. I mean, if everyone could see exactly what's going on in this reality we live in, you would have mass hysteria, you would have mass chaos, you think there's killings now, shit. So you would have war, and I think that the reason for that is because people are so conditioned that if you look different than them, that it's a bad thing. And I really can recondition myself, and just because you look different doesn't mean you're out to get me, or And once you do that, it's a blessing. So on YouTube, people see at first the angered Paul, and then they'll see the Paul that transitioned into like, hey, well, maybe there's a different way to go about this. And again, I can only do as much as I can as far as going after the media or coming on great shows like yours, Doctor, and
Thank you.
exposing this stuff. But if we don't consciously, massively connect, nothing's going to happen. And that brings us to the question of what the heck can we do to get there, to get to there.
Well, and let's come back to that. You know, because you made the comment of, well, there would be mass hysteria and all of this stuff. And
Sure.
I think that there would only be mass hysteria because there are so many people that have no awareness to what's going on. I mean, I come from a metaphysical, ghost hunting, sci-fi kind of background. And
Yeah, seeing shadow people, that type of thing, right?
yeah, and you know, people will say, "Well, isn't that weird?" And I'm like, "No, that's my life." You know, and it's normal to me talking about, you know, interdimensional beings, or, you know, there's some ghosts in my house, and it's like, well, you know, John doesn't feel so happy about this, and blah blah blah, and they're like, "You talk to them?" You know, so for me, it wouldn't be so weird. I mean, it would be kind of weird, but it wouldn't be that weird. But I think for most people who haven't had experiences, that haven't had any kind of education into, you know, what you were talking about before, you know, chakras and aura and that anything,
Yeah.
yeah, it would be a little bit of a problem.
A little bit. Come on now.
I'd be nice.
There's lizard people with the supermarket. Run! People won't know how to handle it. And well, it's not only reptilians. I mean, I've seen the cat species, the feline race. I've seen the what you would look at as black-eyed beings. You name it. So, and from time to time, like I teach my 8-year-old, I'm like, hey, look, this is what you have to look for. This is, and we go over different things. And then one time she's like, Dad, did you see a space? I said, yeah, I seen it. But it's like nothing to me. Like, it would freak most people out. And like people say, well, I studied the ancient hieroglyphics. I've studied what the ancients think about these beings and this and that. But when you see it so much and you learn how to pinpoint different things, it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
It gets how it gets. But that's how it should be throughout humanity, period. And the reason it's not that way, I mean, there's many stories. Well, the reptilians and other beings went underground, and when they came up, people didn't know what they looked like, so people would freak out. And then there's the control aspect of it. Like, hey, if we hide in secrecy, we've been going so long, so now it's kind of like we could run this rock we call planet Earth.
Well, you know, part of my background is studying the mythic record. You know, and the mythic record, in my opinion, clearly states that a group of half man, half serpent, snake, reptilian beings lived, well, beneath the waters and deep within the earth, and that they were the original owners of the planet. Period.
Says who? Says who? Says them.
Says multiple cultures from around the world.
Well, who wrote? But who wrote these texts? I mean,
well, yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm hearing what you're saying, and
okay.
I'm just but my but is, you know, because where I come from is they are you know, it's not just one culture. If it was just like the Sumerians saying it or the Egyptians saying it, I would just dismiss it.
I understand.
But there's a level of consistency to say that there has to be some truth to the narrative. Or somebody was sending around the same level of propaganda, and it hit just about every culture around the world.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, even if it is, even if you don't call them Lizzies, dude. They hate it.
Okay.
even if it is the reptilians planet, that's fine. And there's different types of reptilians. There's the brown skin. They're the older race on the planet. Then there's the green. Then there's the white. Sometimes you get the orange. Blah blah blah. But I've mostly encountered the brown skin ones, and I mean, I've felt the skin, you name it. And people are going to go, oh, well, you're lying. All right, well, that's fine, dude. I can tell you how they look. I can tell you their traditions. I can tell you how they rub their palms together, their palms. If you look at all your politicians, what they'll do is they'll constantly rub their palms together on the podiums. It's kind of like a, I forget the name of the word, but they kind of get off on it. It's weird, but there's all the traditions that all the traditions that the reptilians have and different races have, because they're very traditional, just like we used to be. I looked into everything because I'm kind of like, well, if you're running a show, if I am an abductee since the age of 6 and up, I want to know who you are. I want to know how you eat. I want to know how you sleep. I want to know whatever. And that was a journey of mine. And when I got to that, like I said, you just get used to it. And because I've had so many people tell me, dude, don't even waste your time. Like, don't even talking about it, because people are in Generation Z. They're in Generation Zombie land. That no one's even going to believe you. So it's just like, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And so, the information about their traditions and stuff like that, where did you learn that? Did you learn that in an abduction situation, or how did you come upon that information?
See, you got to watch what you say, because if you say, well, it's sent to me, and a lot of time David Icke says that. He says he got a lot of his knowledge, I mean, because we're biological beings and our brains are computers. I agree with that. But through abduction experiences, these beings could be in a room with you and telepathically tell you something, mm-hmm. and you just not see them and give you the knowledge that you need to either improve what you're doing, or if you're going the wrong way, they'll guide you in another direction. And so I guess you can say that's where through seeing beings, talking to people, and seeing them shapeshift, through abduction, and a lot of the times too through unseen beings. And that's a hard pill for people to swallow, because people will flip that and go, oh, you're under mind control, or oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, like, whatever, man. You're just mad because you ain't seen a reptilian. It's not my fault. I know, like, you can tell. I mean, I can tell you how to tell. We can get into that.
Yeah, tell me, because see, now you got me kind of curious. I mean, in my work, because I mean, I do psychic readings as part of my work.
All right, can you see my cheek? Watch my cheek. Mm-hmm. See how it kind of pokes out? What they'll do is they have like a frantic thing with their tongue, and they'll poke it out of their cheek a lot, or sometimes it comes out, but it kind of whips out. It kind of comes out the side, like the lizard tongue. And again, if you look at like the high cheekbones of a lot of, usually with hybrids, but the high cheekbones, they have the real straight nose. It's just there's some of the eyes are real squinty. It's really the chin kind of comes out more, the nose kind of comes down more. You would really have to see them and study them and pay attention, like. But they're like small signs. And mentally get yourself vibrationally in tune with them, period. It's so hard to explain, because people will think you're crazy, but you're really not. Like, a lot of people say, well, we see through visible light, or we can't see this, or we can't. Yes, you can. Mm-hmm. Once you just have to train your mind to say this is possible and this exists out there, and say, not say this is what I want the universe to give me, but this is what I'm going to manifest. This is what I'm going to see. I read a story about one girl who lived underground, and she was saying that she can come up in society and she can blend in with people, and people can see them, but you're going to see what you project, what you think you're seeing. But if you know some of the signs, some of the small signs, you can literally project that to be what it really is. And that may be a hard pill for people to swallow, but it is what it is. And
but I mean, what you're talking about is, using a very similar technique to what someone would use going ghost hunting, and I always joke around that, I do a lot of entity release work with people, and when I'm giving a presentation, I'll say, well, I put my entity glasses on, which are not available at Walmart, which I was asked that once. Where can you buy them? And tuning into whatever that vibration or frequency is that they exist in, and then you see them, but it's just more being open to tuning into whatever that is, wherever they are.
Well, I mean, look, I've been on radio shows where I've seen it, and people, I tell personal people in my family, I won't specifically say what radio show. Oh, why don't you say something? Why don't you say something? Like, are you kidding me? Why? I'm not disrespectful. Why would you want to anyway? We're on a show talking about something positive, dude. You just want me to bash someone because they're different? Like, like, get out of here. Where's it? And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people will not grow up spiritually as beings. One of the things I hate, what people say all the time, they say, well, it's humanity's fault for this, or it's not humanity's fault for this. You know, they didn't ask to have their water poisoned. They didn't ask to have their food poisoned. But people say, well, if they're just weeding out the strong from the weak, because they look at a lot of people like wasteless eaters, and if you're not strong enough to consciously make a choice to change the way things are, then you don't deserve to survive. And I understand that the reptilians don't do the whole pity thing. I get that. But give somebody a fighting chance, you know. Don't just come up and sneak me, you know. If you want to start a fight, don't come up and like sneak me, dude. Let me know what's coming. And that's you know, people can say whatever they want, but I don't think it's humanity's fault. I think it's humanity's fault if they are giving a chance to know what's going on and then consciously make that decision to say, F it, I don't want to be bothered. Now you're a wasteless eater. Now you deserve what you get. You know, so the whole reptilian no pity thing, I like it. You know, but it's only if someone's given a chance. It's like, you know, people go on about this or that, or homelessness, that. Look, I've been homeless. But homeless many a times. My whole thing is, look, you know, there's homeless shelters out there, dude. Unless you're mentally ill or you're a drug addict, unless you're mentally ill or have no body parts, I'll feel bad for you if that's the case. But if you're on drugs or you're just panhandling to do this, I don't feel bad for you, man. Make it happen, dude.
Thank you for watching this portion of our interview with TruthChaser Paul Wesley. If you're enjoying today's program, please click on the button below and subscribe to our channel. If you want to hear this interview in its entirety, become a Just Energy Radio insider at justenergyradio.com to access full shows commercial-free and gain access to our over 9 years of show archives. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And until next time, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Just Energy. Be blessed.